Good evening. I am Pamela Griffin Armstead, President of the Gloucester branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. The NAACP is a national nonpartisan organization advocating justice for all. The national organization began in 1909, and the Gloucester County branch was chartered in 1939. Welcome to our local candidates forum, which we sponsor every 2 years when there are local elections. We will begin with a moment of silence in memory of those who lost their lives and those who gave their lives 24 years ago today, 9/11. Let us bow our heads. Thank you. We will now have pledge allegiance to the flag. For those that are able to stand, please do so. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. Thank you for coming out tonight to hear what the candidates have to say about some of the issues facing Gloucester County. The questions being asked are gleaned from those submitted by a cross-section of residents of the county. We realize it does not cover all of the issues, but it will give you an idea of where each candidate stands in general. Please respect that this is a time for the candidates to address things from their perspectives, and while you may or may not agree, this is not the time to debate them. Their contact information is included in the program, so you can connect with them on your own to discuss issues further. Thank you to the candidates for making themselves available for this event. The program has the rules of conduct as well as other important information regarding the upcoming election. Please take a moment to read them. Thanks to all who have made this possible tonight. Our moderator tonight is Velma Benz. Ms. Benz is retired after serving the United States Probation Officer for Eastern Virginia for 28 years. She has been a resident of Gloucester County since 2012 and is presently the chair of the Criminal Justice Committee of the NAACP Gloucester branch. Thank you, Velma, for serving as moderator tonight. I now turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you, Pam, for that welcome and introduction, and good evening, everyone. As noted in your programs, tonight's forum will be divided into 3 segments. We will begin with questions for our candidates for the Virginia House of Delegates, followed by questions for the Board of Supervisor candidates, and we will end with questions for our school board candidates. As a reminder, we ask the audience to keep all extraneous conversation and movement to a minimum so that we can better hear the candidates' responses. Candidates, you will be called on in alphabetical order. You will have 90 seconds for an opening statement and 90 seconds to respond to the questions. A sign or signal will be given to you indicating that you have 30 seconds left. And in fact, could you hold up their signal so they can recognize the signal? Thank you. That's the 30-second left signal. But when the timekeeper says time, please finish your sentence and stop. We ask that you speak directly into the mic so that those in the back can hear you as well. Can everyone in the back hear me? Excellent. Before we begin, are there any questions, candidates? Excellent. Ms. Beverly, we will start with you. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you are seeking election to the Virginia House of Delegates.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I just want to thank the Gloucester NAACP for holding this forum. A little bit about me. My name is Valerie Beverly. I currently live in Newport News. I've been living there. We've been there about 25 years now, back in Virginia. I have 3 children. I've been married for 30 years this year to my husband, William. He's in the audience. And I participate in all types of community events in Newport News. Why I am running, I want to be a different voice for the people. I am interested in the people, not in the politics, not in the title, not in the access. I want to be an advocate at the State House for all people, all our residents here in Gloucester, Newport News, York County, and James City County, which the district covers. So I want to be your voice, and I want to be your advocate. I'm a former social worker. I currently own my own insurance agency. I'm an ordained minister, and so I'm used to dealing with people from all diverse backgrounds. So I want to ask you all tonight to think about all that's going on, because everybody says they're just not happy with the two-party system.
Thank you. Mr. Downey?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Mark Downey. I'm a pediatrician for the last 24 years in the Williamsburg area. Grew up in Queens Lake, right across the river, and was born and raised in the Commonwealth. Moved to Queens Lake at age 2 and have been here on and off ever since. Married, 4 children, have finally an empty nester as of August 20th this year. So my wife said you had to do something else, so that's why I'm running. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm doing this because I care about what I believe are the foundational needs that everyone needs access to, and that's good quality health care, affordable, accessible, making sure that our public schools are fully funded, making sure our kids have a great opportunity, not just a good start, but when they're done with their public school education, that they have access to anything they want to do coming out of our public schools. Also want to make sure that we're looking out for the working families, make sure that they can afford the prescription drugs that they need for their families and loved ones, make sure they can afford putting a meal on the table, make sure they can afford childcare. All these things I see every day people are struggling with, and we need to make sure that we're working to lower the costs for the folks that need it the most and taking care of them so that they can thrive and be successful. So again, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Green?
Yes. My name's Chad Green. I currently serve as a delegate for the 69th District. The 69th District includes parts of Gloucester, James City County, York, and Newport News. Prior to becoming elected to serving in the House of Delegates, I was on the Board of Supervisors for 2 terms, 2 of which I served as chairman of the York County Board of Supervisors. I'm a lifelong Peninsula resident, born right there at Riverside Hospital, and lived down the lane 1 house over from where my grandfather lived in Seaford, Virginia. My priorities are affordability, education, and public safety. I want to keep Virginia moving forward. I think Glenn Youngkin's done a great job, and I want to make sure that his agenda keeps moving forward, and I want to keep Virginia moving forward. I am a Republican, but I want to represent all of y'all. I didn't run to be partisan. I ran to represent everyone. So thank you, and I look forward to earning and working hard for your vote in November.
Thank you. Mr. Hodges?
Well, thank you. Thank you all for coming out this evening to listen to all of us. I'm Keith Hodges. I'm currently the delegate in the General Assembly for the 68th District, and been there since 2012. And I will say that being in the House of Delegates is probably the second greatest honor in my life, because my first greatest honor is being a dad, and family always comes first. I was born right here in the Middle Peninsula, Lower King William, and then Lower King and Queen. In my teenage years, grew up next to my grandparents, and I will tell you, I didn't know what store-bought jelly was until I was in college. And my greatest, I would think, challenge in the General Assembly is getting the folks in Northern Virginia and our urban areas to recognize the Middle Peninsula. And we've made great strides in the last few years to recognize who we are, to recognize how unique our opportunities and our challenges are, and have done tremendous work during that time to get some things done and good accomplishments. I was an independent pharmacist for 31 years, and people that know me, they know that I don't get into the politics, I get into policy, and I represent the people. When people would come into the pharmacy, they rarely talked politics with me. They talked about their concerns, what they needed to put money in their pocket to feed their families, the high cost of prescription drugs and health care. And I think my record speaks for itself over the years on making tremendous strides. We only have 2 health care legislators in the General Assembly, and they look at me to be one of the folks that can advise them each and every day.
Thank you. Ms. Walters?
Hey everybody, I'm Elaine Walters. I'm running for House of Delegates in the 68th District. I was born and raised in rural Essex County, and being surrounded by the natural resources of this area inspired me to become a marine biologist. So I studied at Rappahannock Community College and at Old Dominion University, and I've spent the past year traveling and doing conservation field work. So I'm a bit of an unlikely candidate in that I'm probably better suited to tagging sea turtles and sharks than I am to giving speeches. But I decided to run anyway, to give my district a choice this November. And it's always been my life's goal to improve the world and leave it better than I found it. And this felt like the right way to do it. As I go out and I'm talking to people and I'm knocking on doors, people have a lot of hope and a lot of stress. And I plan to do something about that. Thank you, everyone, and that's all I'm gonna say. You can come find me after. I have a lot of ideas, and I wanna talk to everyone.
And thank you. And now for our questions. Ms. Beverly, what do you see as the 3 most important issues affecting Gloucester County?
According to all the materials that you all sent us to review, what jumped out at me was the first one would be economic development or job creation, that there's an issue here with higher paying jobs and the jobs that people go out of the community for. They go out of Gloucester County for higher paying jobs, and then they just don't have enough jobs here. That's one of the big issues that jumped out. The second issue was health care, costs and access to affordable health care and access to health care needs, such as one of the studies were pointing out about behavioral health, needing behavioral health prevention services, services for elderly with dementia, and general gaps in access to just primary care, like if you lived out in the rural parts. That's what one of the things that the assessment said. The third thing is the infrastructure. Gloucester needs more access to broadband, water and sewer capacity, transportation, and affordable housing are those things that jumped out at me that need to be tackled here in this area. What I will also say about health, I want to go back to health care.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Downey.
Well, I think like Gloucester County, like a lot of other counties around the Commonwealth, are struggling with access and affordable health care. And as a pediatrician, I plan on bringing my expertise to help set good policy to make sure that we improve access and keep access for people as we're facing cuts from the federal government to our Medicaid programs and even people losing resources from the Affordable Care Act. Virginia's going to have to pick up the pieces, and I think that's going to be important to have someone in the General Assembly to make sure that we're making good decisions going forward. The other thing is, being a pediatrician, I see the struggles that families have all the time with affordability and access to quality childcare and early childhood education, and strengthening our public schools, whether it's paying teachers better, whether it's providing them with the support staff, school nurses, counselors. We need to make sure that our future, they have the best and the brightest working with them, and that we're maintaining and keeping the best teachers in the area. And as far as the final issue, I think, as mentioned, is affordability, whether it's affordability for housing, for costs of healthcare, costs of education. These are crucial issues that provide the strong foundation for every family to be successful moving forward. And I want to make sure I work every day. When I see people in my office, I don't ask what family they come from, what party they're from. So I work to make sure they're having a better opportunity.
So let me let the candidates know. So when you have 30 seconds left, Kathy's going to hold up the little fan. Okay, so that's the plan.
And thank you. Mr. Green?
Sure, it's great to hear everybody talk about affordability. That's one of my main issues. None of this works if we can't afford to buy gas, if we can't afford our groceries, if we can't afford our taxes. We really need to get on that and make sure that the things that we buy that we need in life are affordable. Next, we need a world-class education system here. And what we don't need is we don't need folks in Richmond dictating what we're teaching. We need to educate our students and not indoctrinate. Okay? Richmond needs to make sure that the money's in the budget for the schools to provide excellent world-class education to the kids here. And the third thing, and we noticed them when we walked in here, public safety, our deputies. We need to make sure that our deputies have the tools and the resources to get the job done. And we need to support them. And on all days, 9/11, we need to make sure that we fund them and not defund them, and that we've got their back because they've got ours.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Hodges.
Thank you very much. 3 things: economic development, healthcare, and then, of course, infrastructure. And one of the things that really grabbed my attention and started to look at it, and growing up here, is keeping families together. At least give our children an opportunity to stay. I grew up, I graduated with 60 kids. Only 6 of us live in the entire district right now. At least give them an opportunity. And when you look at the Middle Peninsula and lay all of the state and federal programs across the state, the rural coastal Virginia area, it's blank. So I've been able to create a number of things in the General Assembly. I take a negative and I always turn it into a positive, and that's the way I'll look at that. I've created the Rural Coastal Virginia Economic Enhancement Authority, bringing rural coastal Virginia together so that we can work together because we have the same challenges and we have the same opportunities. I've created the Middle Peninsula Alliance, bringing our localities together, finally, where they are actually getting along to bring jobs, because what happens here in Matthews or Gloucester or wherever. As far as health care, I'm focused on providing health care to folks using what we call ERISA law, which is a law in Virginia, in national law, where anything we pass is only 25%. It only affects 25%. There was a Supreme Court case. I found some loopholes in some things, and we're able to be able to do that. And when it comes to infrastructure, okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Walters, same question.
So data centers, Gloucester County is perfectly suited for them. You have the rivers, you have the transmission lines, and as I'm out knocking on doors and talking to Gloucester County residents, you guys really like living here. You like the rural character, you like the rivers, you like the forests, and understandably so. And as much as I hate data centers, they are coming. And they're coming with promises of jobs and economic prosperity and low environmental impact, and they can't keep these promises. Our schools, Gloucester County has good schools, and I want to keep it that way. with federal cuts coming down, we're at risk of losing important services like school lunch programs and special needs programs, and, you know, including also potential staff cuts. And the schools are the second largest employer in this area. Any cuts will be felt in the community. If we invest in our students, we have an educated workforce for the future. And then my last thing is the economy. Almost all of you and me all share concerns about the rising cost of living. And with rising grocery prices and tariffs and stagnant wages, all of these concerns are just gonna become worse. And I wanna see time. Thanks.
Thank you. And now we'll have question number 2, starting again with Ms. Beverly. Ms. Beverly, how do you see the state's involvement in the issues you identified previously?
Okay, well, we'll start with economic development and workforce development. One of the things that we could do is expand workforce training through the public school systems here. One good model we have is in Hampton. They have academies. They have 16 academies. So the students actually come out with certifications out of high school, and they can go right into the workforce and go in the shipyard as a welder. They have law enforcement. They have CNAs, physical therapy assistants, culinary. They have a wide variety. That's one thing we could do. Also, we could tap more into the community college programs and do more partnerships with them with that. The second thing, healthcare. My idea for centralized healthcare here in Virginia would work really well because it would save a lot of money, not on just healthcare costs, but on access to healthcare. Meaning that if they put all the state workers, city workers, school workers, police officers, firefighters, all the public service workers in one pool, it would lower the costs of your health care tremendously. And it would put the rural counties on equal footing as your larger cities. It would make a huge difference and save the Commonwealth millions of dollars.
Thank you. Mr. Downey, same question.
Yeah, again, as a pediatrician, I see daily what people are struggling with as far as affordability of healthcare and access to healthcare. With the cuts coming from the federal government to Medicaid, it's not only going to affect individuals, but it's going to affect the hospitals in our backyard. You know, meeting with some of the executives there, they're expecting a $2 billion budget gap once the bill that was passed this year comes into effect, and that's going to affect the accessibility of hospitals, what services they provide. So I want to use my expertise to make sure that Virginia picks up the pieces and fills in those gaps. As far as education, the state has a huge role in making sure that our schools are fully funded. And I'm going to push hard to make sure that we pay our teachers at least get them up to the national average, if not higher, to make sure that we can recruit and retain the best teachers and invest in our public schools and hopefully expand in our preschool programs. And as far as affordability and improving and lowering taxes for folks, I think it's finally time to get rid of the car tax, but do it in a responsible manner. But we need to make sure that we lower the taxes for all working families, but also improve their ability to make a living by improving the wages that are being paid out. So that's what I hope to promote when I'm in the General Assembly and be one of the only doctors in the House.
Thank you. Mr. Green, same question.
Yeah, this question deals with affordability, and it deals with an issue that I've taken on. A couple of years ago, we were sitting there getting ready to do some back-to-school shopping, my family and I, and we were looking for that tax holiday. Well, lo and behold, the tax holiday was not put in the budget. I said, you know what, we can't have this happen. So when I got up there last year, I put a bill in to make the tax holiday a law. I put my bill in. There was a more senior delegate who had put his bill in, Delegate Reed. Went down to his office. I said, hey, here's my bill, here's yours. Mine was a little bit better written, but we rolled my bill into his. I became a chief patron on his bill, and we passed the tax holiday. That is real-life action, Richmond in action, making things more affordable. When I'm reelected, I want to do more of that and make life more affordable for our citizens.
Thank you. Mr. Hodges, same question.
Thank you very much. With regard to economic development, we are unique and we are different. You know, the state looks at economic development. Retail is not, and you know, having your Walmarts and so forth, that's not economic development. We need good paying jobs to keep our kids here. So let's look at what we can do that fits in with who we are. So I start to look at flooding, resiliency. We have 1,000 miles of shoreline in the Middle Peninsula. Take that, it's our greatest asset, but turn it into, it's our greatest challenge, but it's also an asset. So I've actually, because of a bill that I tweaked, have 39 companies that want to do business in Virginia dealing with living shorelines and flooding and resiliency, 19 of those right here in the Middle Peninsula, that we can actually start a flooding and resiliency industrial park to not only solve the problems here in Gloucester in the Middle Peninsula, in the state, but for the world. Then you're looking at scientists, contractors, engineers. As far as healthcare goes, transparency is number one. We need transparency in healthcare so you know what's going on. I was just involved in a recent study, and we identified $2.2 billion within Medicaid that we can make some changes. I found $80 million in Medicaid based on spread pricing, and the first one in the country to do that. So we need the transparency, and we also need to focus on carving out the middlemen with third-party administrators and PBMs. As far as infrastructure, we talk about roads, we talk about highways and broadbands, but infrastructure also is septic. Gotcha.
And thank you. Ms. Walters, same question.
Thanks. So for data centers, they need to be regulated. We need to do that to protect the environment and actually improve the community resources. We need to hold companies accountable, and if a community decides to let one in, it needs to be a waterless data center, and it needs to be away from our rivers. And that company needs to sign a community benefit agreement so that that company is covering the cost of rising electric utilities and other expenses and not the communities. And there's non-disclosure agreements? Absolutely not. The community needs to know throughout the whole process what's going on. And then for our schools, if I got to Richmond, I would champion for fairer school funding on the state level so that all kids get the same amount of funding regardless of where they live and what their income is. I would support legislation to boost funding for teachers and students, along with access for resources for families in our communities, like protecting meals in schools and affordable housing and high-speed internet. For the economy, it would be a priority of mine if I get to Richmond to ensure that we manage our resources to create jobs and promote small businesses and livable wages and an overall healthy economy for the 68th District.
Thank you. Candidates, question number 3, and we'll again start with Ms. Beverly. What specific budget items will you champion to improve the life in Gloucester County?
Yeah. According to the information that you all gave us to read, it was put together through the community and several community stakeholders here in Gloucester. And so a lot of the suggestions, it seems like there's money that could be tapped into to help Gloucester out. One of them they talked about was hired apprenticeship fund to have people have on-the-job training, you know, to go into the career fields that they want, but they can get paid as they're doing it. They have a housing trust, affordable housing tax credits, and home repair programs that we could tap into with the state that helps with repair programs of older homes and everything that was in the report. Economic development site readiness fund, evidently that they have, that they can have small industrial site grants that would help, and they give matching funds. The other thing that was in there, they have new economy workforce credential grant and Virginia Career Works funding. So all of these are available. I think that we need to apply for them to get them. They also have the Virginia Telecommunications Initiative, which would increase broadband here in the county. So there are a lot of things that they mentioned in these assessments that were done by the community and by the stakeholders, so that your businesses and your people. So you know you have the resources here.
Thank you. Mr. Downey, same question.
Well, once again, I think we're going to be facing another healthcare crisis once changes come down from the federal government, and the state's going to have to step in and make sure that we fully fund our Medicaid program and those folks that are potentially losing their health care benefits once the cuts come through. So that's going to be my priority, to make sure the budget is ready to jump in and support those families, not just on Medicaid, but also potential cuts that are coming to the VA hospital and services there. As far as education, I feel like we're in a good position to really push for more early childhood education. I want to make sure that we have a budget there to start moving more people and offering that as a public option for folks. In addition, at the end of the high school, we need to make sure we fund our career and technical education programs and partnering with local businesses to make sure that the workforce that is being developed here is in alignment with what the needs are of the local businesses and communities. And finally, as far as lowering costs for folks, I would love to see us pass paid family leave. So many of my working moms are going back to work 6 weeks after they have their child. It's unconscionable. They're barely able to sleep more than 2 hours a night. We need to have paid family leave so they can take care of themselves and their baby and then be productive when they go back to work. So that's some of the budget items I would like to push forward next year.
Thank you. Mr. Green, same question.
I'm going to do what I've done for the past 2 years this next year, and that is put a legislation in to get rid of the car tax, okay? The car tax, and you heard my opponent, Mark, over here, he's for this, okay? We can do it. There are 24 states in the District of Columbia that do not have a car tax, okay? It's time for this to go. The car tax was enacted in 1926 when having a car was a luxury, akin to someone having a jet or a yacht right now, okay? In order to participate, to go worship, to go grab your groceries, to go to school, to have a job, you must have a car. A car is not a luxury, and the average car is $50,000. $50,000 is what an average car, and I'm not talking a nice car, I'm just talking your average car. This is a regressive tax. We talk about ungained capital earnings. It's bad. It's time for it to go. And send me back to Richmond, and we'll put it in again. And with folks like Mark helping me out from behind, we'll take it. Take it down.
Thank you. Mr. Hodges, same question.
Thank you very much. Would definitely continue the work that I've been building upon. When you're a legislator, it takes years to be able to get things done. I would continue to focus on our rural coastal region, looking at dredging, which I've been able to create a dredge program, have a municipal dredge, which is moving forward because the federal government used to pay for the dredging, and now we've been able to get some funding, and that's our bread and butter, folks. And it keeps our marinas going. It keeps our watermen in business. Healthcare, transparency, continue my work on Medicaid to focus on the dollars that were really being overspent and what's being falsely reported, which we've proven just this past week to CMS. As far as continuing my work on economic development, blue catfish, people thought I was crazy bringing up blue catfish. It's our #1 threat to the Chesapeake Bay. So let's turn it into economic development, make some money out of it, feed our families, feed our schools. People thought I was crazy, but it's taken off. And I was able to get funding the first year, increased it last year, but would increase that funding moving forward. We were fortunate enough to have a processor and a flash freeze facility receive a grant here in the district, but also septic, which is actually we're the land and field septic systems, and turn that into a way to help our folks by having an alternative system where.
Thank you. And Ms. Walters, same question.
Okay, so we need better spending on schools. We need to invest in these school lunches and special needs programs and all the other additional services that help our students be successful. We need to invest in community support, like better housing, better infrastructure, affordable high-speed internet access, an overall thriving economy. We need coastal resilience, we need water quality management, and we need extreme weather mitigation. We're in a fairly bad spot for hurricanes, which are increasing in both severity and length of season, and we need to be prepared for them. Our rivers and our drinking water sources they're at risk of pollution, and some already are. And we need to work to preserve and maintain these water sources for ourselves, for the future, for our seafood dinners. And, shout out to our VIMS scientists and our watermen. We also need to look out for our rural hospitals and clinics. Across Virginia, we've been seeing medical care facilities have to be shut down. And that affects all of us, especially in rural areas. And, if somebody you love has a medical emergency or, God forbid, a stroke, you don't want medical care to be an hour away. You want medical care to be here. And so those are some of the things I'd spend my money on.
Thank you. And for the last question for this group, Ms. Beverly, we will begin again with you. How will you preserve adequate access to medical and mental health care for residents of Gloucester County?
The assessments that you all had, that was one of the biggest one, was the healthcare one. So going back to what I said about decentralized healthcare, lowering the premium of health insurance and making sure that all of the insurance companies can be at the table for state, city, and public service workers would do wonders, because then you're not just have Aetna or Blue Cross Blue Shield, all of the companies can play at the table, which would be very, very important. And having lower premiums will put more money in the people in Gloucester pocket, and they can do more. The other thing we can do is strengthen the local healthcare workforce, because according to the assessment, you all need more help here. Behavioral health is a big thing here in Gloucester, according to the assessment. You need more mobile crisis units. You need more school-based health care funding and medication-assisted programs, and improved primary care and specialty care access here in the county. Maybe collaborate with some of the other surrounding counties. It would help to pool some of that together to get better access to health care.
Thank you. Mr. Downey, same question.
Well, again, I think this is crucial that we have a physician in the General Assembly next year, because cuts are coming to the Medicaid program, and we need to make sure that the state steps in to make sure that those folks are not losing their insurance, that they have access to health care. It's going to take a lot of time and effort to kind of work through those details, but in my opinion, everyone in this Commonwealth should have full access and full coverage of insurance, full stop. If they don't have that, they're going to show up in the emergency rooms, and that's the least efficient way of administering medicine and primary care. It's not even primary care, it's tertiary care. They're waiting until there's already a problem. We need to invest in our public health system. We need to make sure that those are robust, not just in suburban, but in urban areas and rural areas. This bill that's coming through is going to devastate rural areas as far as their access to health care, and the state's going to have to pick up the pieces. And that's not just our primary care, but it's also mental health care. When I started as a pediatrician, about 10% of my practice was mental health care. Now it's about 30 or 40%. And we have fewer pediatric psychiatrists now than we did when I started 25 years ago. We need to incentivize people going into the field. We need to make sure those resources are available, because if we don't take care of our children, we're not going to have healthy adults, and that's what I'm going to work every day as a physician in the General Assembly. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Green, same question.
Sure. Ms. Beverly made a lot of good points about the insurance industries and what the reforms we need to do there. What I would do is we need more doctors, we need more mental professionals, we need more nurses, we need more healthcare folks. We need to make an investment in our universities, MCV, VCU, all those places, ODU, Eastern Virginia. We need to get with these universities and make sure that they're producing the number of doctors, mental professionals, nurses, physical therapist. I mean, the list goes on. We're almost in a crisis mode, and we really need to get with these universities. It needs to be a collaborative effort, and we need to make strategic investments so that these healthcare professionals are there when we need them. And there's an old adage that we enjoy the shade of trees we didn't plant. We need to start right now planting these trees so we can enjoy and have the shade later.
Thank you. Mr. Hodges, same question.
Thank you very much. And being in healthcare for a number of years, bring a number of years of experience. The one thing I like to do is bring people together to solve problems and to make things work. And I've worked with the sheriffs, I've worked with healthcare systems, I've worked with the Secretary of Health, I've worked with a number of folks when we had some mental health issues within our hospitals regarding temporary detention orders and emergency custody orders. And you can ask the officers that here tonight that it's a big problem, folks. So I was able to bring them together and solve those problems, and it's working much better here in the district. Workforce development, that is crucial. Healthcare is our #1 employer here in the Middle Peninsula. It's an opportunity to keep our children here and to work and to raise their family and to be with their families. You know, I've worked with a local community college. There was a need for a sonography program. It's now the #1 sonography program in the state that was able to get funded. Just last week, I talked with the folks at our health systems and where those needs are, and we're already looking in the upcoming General Assembly to be able to start programs within our community college here in Gloucester County. And people don't realize that RCC is actually in Gloucester County, folks. So we're working on those programs very hard. And RCC, and people don't realize that RCC now has one of the #1 nursing programs in the state. One of the #1 in the state. We need to continue with those programs and develop those programs and work together to solve these problems.
Thank you. And Ms. Walters, same question.
Thank you. So 1/3 of children and almost 10% of seniors in Gloucester County are on Medicaid. With federal cuts, we're leaving our most vulnerable at risk with federal cuts to Medicaid programs. We're also leaving our rural hospitals at risk. Riverside Health is the #1 employer in this area. And so in addition to the loss of care, the loss of jobs would be devastating. We need to budget at the state level so that this can't happen.
That's right, I forgot.
We need to ensure that no one goes bankrupt from a medical emergency, an issue that disproportionately affects communities of color. We need to cap prescription drug costs, and we need legislation to support medical debt forgiveness. 1 in 5 Virginians are family caregivers, and we need to advocate for them. Mental health is healthcare, and we need to expand that healthcare by investing in community service boards and other support systems beyond just the minimum amount. And as a resident of the 68th, I am worried because if medical care facilities shut down, they don't reopen.
Thank you. Ms. Beverly, Mr. Downey, Mr. Green, Mr. Hodges, and Ms. Walters, thank you for your time and dedication to this community. At this time, we will begin our transition to the next segment. Candidates for the Board of Supervisors, please come forward. But before they do, can we please give our candidates a hand of applause?
Nice to meet you. Good to see you.
Candidates for Board of Supervisors, please come forward. Kathleen Keller, could you please come forward? Kathleen Keller. Diane Carter DeMayo, please step to the front. Diane Carter DeMayo, please step to the front.
Ladies and gentlemen, 5 minutes. We'd like for you to hear this, please.
This is a proclamation commending the Gloucester branch of the NAACP on their 85th year anniversary. The Gloucester branch of the NAACP was established March 13th, 1939, with G. Nelson Carter Sr., local business owner and founding president. An active leader in the civil rights movement, Nelson Carter hauled Irene Morgan out of prison after she was arrested for riding a whites-only section in an interstate bus that was passing through Middlesex. During the subsequent court case, the Supreme Court of the United States ultimately ruled that segregation in interstate travel was unconstitutional under the Commerce Clause. Whereas Nelson Carter's wife, Miriam Carter, also a trailblazer in the civil rights movement, became the first black woman to attend William and Mary School of Law, and their daughter, Diane Carter DeMayo, is also alumnus of the College of William and Mary in Virginia, remains an active member in Gloucester County branch of the NAACP. The Gloucester branch of the NAACP is committed to achieving equity, political rights, social inclusion, advancing the policies and practice, expanding human rights, civil rights, and eliminating discrimination. The Gloucester County branch of the NAACP promotes minority-owned businesses, hosts career fairs, other events, including educational, legal, social, restorative, social resources, and further enhances the well-being, the economic security of the members of the black community and all local minority groups, and I'll add political organizations, and health. Be it resolved that the House of Delegates and the Senate concurring and the General Assembly do hereby commend the Gloucester branch of the NAACP on this occasion of its 85th anniversary. Therefore, be it further resolved that the clerk of the House of Delegates prepare a copy of this resolution for presentation to the Gloucester branch of the NAACP as an expression of the General Assembly's admiration for the organization's legacy and contributions to the black community and the region and for our whole community. House Patron Green Cordoza Hodges. Thank y'all. And I was trying to do this before, but my legislative aide forgot the proclamation at the office, so his wife, our treasurer, Sarah Webb, had to bring it. And we were going to do this on the floor, but that when y'all were supposed to come visit us, it snowed. It was like every week. It was like, all right, they're going to be up here. Then it was snow. Then it was like every week. So don't schedule a visit this year. You know, just come up there and surprise us. So anyway, but thank y'all, and thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Candidates for Board of Supervisors, welcome. Before we begin, I would like to note that since the questions are printed in tonight's program, in the interest of allowing time for the speakers, I will not be reading aloud each question in full. In addition, I will give the candidates the same reminders that I gave out earlier. You will be called upon in alphabetical order. You will have 90 seconds for an opening statement and 90 seconds to respond to the questions. A signal or sign will be held up to indicate you have 30 seconds left, but when you hear the timekeeper say time, please finish your sentence and stop. Again, we ask that you speak directly into the mic so that those of you in the back can hear them as well. Before we begin, are there any questions? Excellent. Mr. Andrulli, we will start with you. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you are seeking election to the Gloucester Board of Supervisors.
Well, my name is Angelo Andrulli. I'm I was a veteran of the Air Force for 20 years. worked military aviation for another 22 years, and been a farmer. My wife is 63, and I'm her caretaker. She has dementia, 7th stage. We grow blueberries on our farm. I'm just running because the people of Pittsworth continually ask me and talk to me, and honestly, I don't think people are listening to them. We don't want no solar panels, farms. I've been out there and looked at every one of them over there. They've contaminated the ground. People are getting upset. They contaminated the water. They don't want a data center. So the people I'm running independent for the people of Pittsworth. I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican, but the people need someone to stand up for all of them, and I get many, many responses every week from every source. And I just want to do my best for the county of Gloucester also, because Pittsworth is in Gloucester, and we need to make Gloucester back the way it was.
Thank you. Mr. Bonneville, same question?
Thank you
or
very
same
much.
opportunity?
Absolutely. My name is Nicholas Bonneville. I have been a lifelong resident here in Gloucester County. My family dates back a couple hundred years. We came over on a boat from England, and my family loved boats so much they still work on boats. The majority of my family lives down at the southern end of the county and works the wonderful waters of the Chesapeake Bay and the York River. Four of the main reasons that I really chose to run was, number one, transparency within our local government. I think there's still some yet to be desired, but I think we have a wonderful opportunity coming forward to make Gloucester an amazing place to live, which it already is, but we can work to make it better. I think fiscal responsibility is paramount. We can't continue to build this county on the backs of the citizens. We can't continue to just raise tax dollars for everything. There needs to be economic growth, but it needs to be the economic growth that fits Gloucester County. Thirdly, and probably the biggest thing, is the infrastructure problems that we are having in Gloucester. It's a real big concern for me. We can't continue to look forward if we're still dealing with major problems from the past. So working through our infrastructure issues and looking to see what that brings in the future. And then lastly, working to somehow get a cohesive board to where we can come up with a strong vision for what Gloucester wants to be, what Gloucester needs to be, and what the citizens of this county wants it to be. And coming together as a cohesive board. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hanson, your opportunity.
Good evening. My name is Shannon Hanson. I'm born and raised here in Gloucester County, and also from a very generational family, as Mr. Bonneville has as well. I'm a graduate of Gloucester High School, class of '88, and I also graduated from J. Sargent Reynolds Community College with a degree in opticianry. Most people don't know what that is, but I made eyeglasses. So, anyway, my husband works at Newport News Shipbuilding. He's a nuclear test engineer, and he's from West Virginia. He's not here tonight because he's taking care of our farm. I worked 30 years as an optician, and recently I chose to change careers, and I'm an insurance agent here in Gloucester County. I dedicated my life to community service through many community opportunities like the Lions Club, Boys and Girls Club. I also have been a Girl Scout leader, a cheerleading coach, Lions Club member, Ruritan Daffodil Festival chairperson, a volunteer at Gloucester Matthews Free Clinic, and I also did some legislative work for the Child Advocacy Project that was here in Gloucester. When I found out there was going to be a seat open and an opportunity to run for Board of Supervisors, I felt like it was just the next step for me to serve my community in a different way. I felt like the community came to me and said that they did not feel like they were being heard by the current board, and I felt that that was something that I could do for my community at hand. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lemming, your opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Joe Lemming. I am your Republican candidate for the Board of Supervisors representing our Pettsworth District, where I have lived for the past 17 years and where our family farm, Free Welcome Farm, has been for more than 100 years. It's a centennial farm. My vision for the county is to be the best place to live, learn, work, and raise a family. Before I went to medical school, I was a volunteer firefighter, achieving the rank of assistant chief in a 4-piece engine company. I was a volunteer EMT. I worked for Harry Corps as a Carolina backhoe, for those of you who know what that is. And then I worked on the water for Benny Belvin and Esther May Belvin. Since medical school, I've owned and operated my own small businesses for 40 years. I previously served 2 terms on the Prince George County Board of Supervisors just outside Petersburg in the early 2000s. If elected, I will bring to the Petsworth citizens my listening skills as a family doctor, my business and experience and leadership, and my local government experience and leadership. I'm asking for the Petsworth voters for their vote. Please vote Republican and vote for Joe Lemming for supervisor on November the 4th. Early voting starts September 19th in the courthouse. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lemming. And Mr. Smith, your opportunity.
Yes, good evening. We'd like to thank the NAACP, first of all, for having the forum tonight. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kevin Smith, and I'm running for re-election as an independent candidate at large Board of Supervisor. I grew up in Matthews County and moved to the land of a life worth living 40 years ago. I reside in Hayes area of Gloucester County. I'm married and I have 4 children, 1 foster son and 4 grandchildren. I graduated from Matthews High School. I hold a bachelor's degree in theology, a master's degree in the ministry, and currently pursuing a doctorate degree in theology. I pastored at the Wayland Baptist Church in Matthews for 24 years. I was employed by Riverside Walter Reed Hospital for 37 years and retired as the officer in charge of security in 2021. I got bored and decided I needed another job. So I'm currently working at the Gloucester County Public School System for Gloucester High School. I coordinate the in-school suspension program. I was elected to the Gloucester County School Board for 12 years, and for 8 years now I've been on the Board of Supervisors, and I'm currently the chairman of the board. I certainly would like to say that if I'm reelected, I will continue to do what I'm doing, and that is to serve the people of Gloucester County.
Thank you all. And now for our questions. Mr. Andruli, we'll start with you. Gloucester County schools are among the best in the district. Are you willing to listen to your neighbors complain about their taxes in order to keep them this way? Yes, taxes.
I'll listen to them to see what they're saying, and then I'll just check to make sure everything's okay. But I've been looking at the school system, and there's a lot of money that's at the schools. I only looked a little bit on the Gloucester site. There's $77 million something dollars, and really what I like to do is see where all the money is getting spent to further make it better for the children of the county, because I have like 9 grandchildren and family children, and so I am concerned. But if I can get in there, we'll see where the money goes, and we'll make it better for the students and even for the teachers and all support people. We just have to see where it's being spent properly and make sure it's being spent properly.
Okay, thank you. Same question, Mr. Bonneville.
Yeah, I think, last week we found out that Gloucester County Public Schools ranked #1 in Region 3, and I think that in itself is a testament to how well our school systems are doing. We're fortunate that roughly 10% of the citizens of Gloucester County don't have a high school education or GED, and on a national basis, that's big. We are well below the norm. I believe that Dr. Vladu, the school board staff, and especially the teachers at our schools are doing a phenomenal job. And I think as far as funding the schools, I think I found one time in the last 15 years where we did not increase the budget for Gloucester County schools. I would like to speak on one thing that's been talked about tonight by our delegates, is that workforce development is a big thing. I would love to see it, come to Gloucester to where we could educate our students with working in the city of Hampton as a firefighter. We have a program that she was talking about with the Justice Academy, firefighting, nursing. I'd like to see that here in our county to increase the workforce capabilities of our kids. And it's clear that if we have better educated students, we have good citizens, we have good people in this county. And as far as listening, that's what our job is. That's what we're elected to do, is to talk, is to listen to our people.
Thank you. Same question, Ms. Hanson.
Well, as a former student of, and a parent of children who are brought to Gloucester County Public Schools, I think it's first and foremost that we do provide a quality education for our children because they will become a part of our community. I do feel that there has been a great change and improvement in our schools recently, and I do as well think that that is due to the new administration with Dr. Vladu at the helm. I'd like to see that continue to go in the same direction. I also feel like I would like to build a better relationship going forward with the school board. I think it's important. I think that that's been a problem and a gap for a long time. I don't think that the two groups have worked well together in the past, and I'd like to see that change, and I'd like to be a part of that change.
Thank you. Mr. Lemming, same question.
I think it's imperative that we prioritize the school system in our county to be the best that it can possibly be. I too compliment Dr. Vladu and the teachers who deliver that education for their being first in District 3, that's the Northern Neck District. I have to tell you that I supported previously Rowanti Technical School, which is a combined trade technical school for Prince George County, Dinwiddie County, and Sussex County. And I think we need to bring those trades back to Gloucester. In case everybody hasn't noticed, most of the people who currently and in the past have provided those trades are, for one reason or another, leaving the country. And we don't have enough skilled workers to do masonry, HVAC, electric, plumbing, EMTs, firefighters, et cetera. And I'd like to see us use some of our excess capacity in the school system, perhaps, to create such a trade school here in Gloucester. Maybe we need to partner with some surrounding communities, but as a supervisor and as a representative of Petsworth, I want to push for this particular topic. I am personally the product of a public education, personally. I currently have 4 children in the public school in Gloucester County, and I have 1 daughter-in-law who is a teacher at Bodytot School herself. I am heavily invested in this conversation. In my first campaign for supervisor, I was actually endorsed by the Virginia Education Society's local unit.
Thank you. And Mr. Smith, same question.
Yes, first of all, let me say this. Even though enrollment is declining, operational cost is increasing. The facilities, for example, is increasing costs is through the roof over the last 5 years. Health insurance in the spring of 2024, insurance increased 21%, and the school division absorbed 67% of the cost. In the spring of 2025, health insurance increased 14%, and the school division absorbed 86% of the cost, which helps to keep help to keep the salaries competitive. Well, how important is it to me that our schools remain the best schools in Region 3? Very important. Thanks to Dr. Vladu, the school staff, and the school board for such an achievement. Now, how can we stay one of the best schools in the region? Adequate funding for our schools. Why? Because if we hire, it'll allow us to be able to hire and retain the best and the brightest. Salaries has got to be competitive to the surrounding areas. I will continue to fight for competitive wages. It's an investment in our future. I'm willing to listen to my neighbors complain, and not only my neighbors, but at school and at church and everywhere. I kindly remind them that the children are our future. The song says, teach them well and let them lead the way. How can we lead them? By funding them. They're going to be our nurses, they're going to be our CNAs, they're going to be our doctors, our lawyers, they're going to be our builders, they're going to be our future. Invest in our future.
Thank you. Question number 2. Mr. Andruli, we'll begin with you again. In your opinion, how are we going to meet the need for safe water and sewage in the county?
Well, first of all, I haven't looked in that far in that, but I know that they say it's not very good. But instead of adding more developments to the county, we need to fix the structures and review what needs to be repaired now instead of continuing to add more housing, because you're just making the problem worse. So basically, we're just going to have, like Richmond has problems for years, and it's been overlooked, and people just push it to the side. Maybe Gloucester needs to look there now to see what needs to be done and what can we do to improve it, because it's not going to get any better if we ignore it.
Thank you. Mr. Bonneville, same question.
Yeah, I think that concern is very valid with our water and sewage system. And I think the fact of the matter is that we've been pretty derelict in maintaining that over the last several years. I believe Katie Legg, who's now in charge of that, has laid forth a plan that's going to push us forward, but that's going to be costly and it's going to take some time. I think that there's only been, what I could find, 1 or 2 rate increases over the last 30 years. And the cost of doing business, frankly, it can't be sustained with something like that. Currently, we're only looking at fixing the problem and not adding to the infrastructure in and of itself. So I think that poses a problem. This was a enterprise that was supposed to sustain itself, and it's been very hard to do that. And again, by not maintaining that, we've added more stress to the system. So I think we need to focus on fixing the problems from the past before we can look at what the future holds as far as what's going to be added to our infrastructure.
Thank you. Ms. Hanson, same question.
We are looking at our water supply catastrophe. I'm not sure why and how it came to this point. I do understand that the board just recently voted to get $30 million loan for the to help with that condition, but our infrastructure needs to be up to date and it needs to be viable before our board can consider any more future housing developments or businesses coming into Gloucester. Since I'm new to the board, I will take a hard look at all of the solutions that are available to us, and none of these solutions will be easy. I will try to make sure that the least impact and fairness will be coming to the citizens of Gloucester. And as for the data centers, I also am against those, bringing those to our community, given their destructive nature and the demand on our infrastructure as it is currently. I do not think that would be a good idea to bring that forward at this time. It would be a burden on our long-term burden on our taxpayers and infrastructure, and it will can reface the landscape, as well as citizens say that they do not want that infrastructure here at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Lemming, same question.
I'm probably going to give a little bit of I don't know, controversial answer, but all the residents in my proposed district that I want to represent have already paid for their water and sewer. I have a well, I have a septic. On the farm, we have wells, we have septic, and I don't know anybody in the Petsworth district who's particularly keen about additional funding for the development zone. In fact, Nick is correct. The utilities fund was originally supposed to be self-supporting, and I endorse that it remains self-supporting. If elected, I will oppose residents of Petsworth and other people who have well and septic being forced to contribute to that utility fund. I will say that there aren't enough people in the zone who are using the utilities for whatever reason. It is possible that somebody might have to consider a tax overlay zone to spread the costs out over that development zone so that it becomes fiscally solvent, which it is not currently fiscally solvent. There's a concept called funded depreciation, which has been lost for the previous 25 years. Data centers. I'm against data centers. I'm against data centers because, number one, Dominion Virginia Power put in a rate increase last week and noted that one of the reasons they want to raise your power bill is the data centers. Two, they suck a lot of water. We don't have the water capacity, and thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Smith, same question.
Okay, thank you. As Dr. Lemon said, the cost of the water and sewer is supposed to be paid for by the customer, and it should be self-sustaining. Currently, the fee cost of sewer and water has not been raised, has not been increased for 10 years, even though the Hampton Roads Sanitation District went up on their cost. Between an aging system, inflation, and slow growth of new customers, the board has recognized that this is a serious financial problem. The board recently approved over $2 million and anticipate additional bond sales for the next several years. The recent borrowing is being paid for by revenues in the utility funds, that the water and sewer fee that we have, Dr. Lemon. Okay, the board discussed providing general funds for the utilities capital projects, and we decided not to go that route, but we will continue to review. We are watching, we are aware, and this is our priority. You can rest assured that if we were to have a catastrophic event, the board would support safe drinking water. Data centers they were talking about, the question was whether they're a plus or minus for Gloucester. Well, it is definitely a minus for Gloucester. Whether the data center is built in King and Queen, Charles City, Louisa County, or any other county, it's going to cost Gloucester County money. Those wires that you see them running across here, they're costing us money. So it is a minus. Thank God Gloucester said no data centers, and the board heard it.
Thank you. Question number 3. Ms. Andrulli, we'll begin with you again. In your opinion, how will you address the housing needs of the county's low to middle income workforce?
The first thing is we can't keep adding new housing developments because the reason being they're starting out at $500,000 for sale. That's going to bring in people. First of all, the companies building them aren't even from Gloucester, so not helping Gloucester out. The people that are buying them are from Newport News and other far areas that work for the government, military, or high-paying jobs. They'll come up here. So what that's going to do is that increases the housing, rent, and houses for other people in the county. So then the people that don't make money, they can't afford that. And then, of course, HUD, are they going to pay the high cost of a house? No. So the housing developments need to stop. And that's what that's what every single person tells me they don't want. But the new houses are costing too much. And so the average person here is going to probably going to move to Matthews or some other county because they can't afford to live here. And their children, what are they going to do? So really, we need to let the people we need to slow down on housing building because it's creating a problem. It's putting more houses for jobs in Gloucester. And those people that work there, like I say, are mostly from out of Gloucester that have high-paying jobs. And that's really going to hurt Gloucester people overall.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bonneville, same question.
Yeah, the state code defines what affordable housing is, and one thing that we lack here in Gloucester is a housing authority. I know we have partnerships with Bay Aging, but I think it's time that we invest in actually having a housing authority. With 2 sons that are looking to move out, and I'm okay with that, looking at the median cost of a decent house exceeds $350,000. And even though they're doing very well in their jobs, it's near impossible. I can tell you that there's been times in everyone's life in here where it's hard to maintain having an affordable home, whether it be a health issue. When my wife was fighting breast cancer, there came times where we thought we may lose our own home. So I think as a member of the Board of Supervisors, I would absolutely encourage that we start working towards creating an ordinance that would allow us to have some type of housing authority that would look at affordable housing in the county. And, as far as the question goes into the infrastructure, I think the lack of infrastructure hurts us in the fact that we don't have the ability to bring in big business. Well, I kind of miss Gloucester when we had 3 stoplights, but what I do realize is that we can't continue to sustain what we have if we don't bring in businesses. But again, it's all about having the businesses that fit our area. It's not about necessarily bringing in big business. Keith mentioned about the blue catfish. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. Ms. Hanson?
We've had a affordable housing problem in Gloucester County for a long time, but also some of this is created by the current financial climate we have as a country. Some of the actual current affordable housing that we have now actually is aging out, and that's something that we really haven't looked at. With the removal of the tolls on the bridge, I do see growth in business coming to our county, but we do need homes for these places, people to call homes to for people can afford that they can live here in Gloucester. I understand, like in North Carolina, they're having that problem where they don't have housing for the people that work in Nags Head and Outer Banks. But none of this can be implemented until we solve the infrastructure problem. As I said before, our water system cannot handle any more additional growth, in my opinion.
Thank you. And Mr. Lemming?
I'm going to do a brief moment in the importance and the structure of local government. The most important document in any local government is the comprehensive or master plan. This plan should be developed with the maximum amount of public input, and it is the policy document that every locality drafts and should live by. It rules where infrastructure is built, where housing developments want to be built, where parks and recs ought to be built, where roads ought to be built, where schools ought to be built, firehouses ought to be built, etc. The last time Gloucester County updated its comprehensive plan was 2016. The most important job of a supervisor is probably to encourage enthusiasm and drive participation in the construction of the comprehensive plan, which drives the zoning ordinance, which drives everything else. I'd like to dovetail on Nick's comment. There's a movement in the county to get rid of the EDA, the Economic Development Authority. I'm opposed to that. In fact, the EDA has the opportunity, because of its structure, to offer low-interest loans. It can rehabilitate our existing low-income housing stock under a separate program. There's lots that we can use the EDA for. I don't think we need another such structure. I think we can better use the EDA that we have to address these needs as our citizens tell us they want in the comprehensive plan.
Okay, Dr. Lemon, I'd like to talk to you afterwards so we can have a discussion about the EDA. Please, sir. Gloucester County needs affordable housing. Now, there's a lot of people in our community that has a misunderstanding of what affordable housing is. They look at affordable housing and they think Section 8, first thing. Then they think subsidized housing. Well, subsidized housing is not Section 8 housing. I know a young lady that's a pharmacy tech, and she has a baby, and she lives in Riverbend, and she's paying $1,000 a month. That's not Section 8, that's subsidized housing. How are we going to address the need of housing? Gloucester, we're not in this alone. The state, it's a state and it's a national issue. Some have even called it a housing crisis. How are we going to address the needs for affordable housing? Personally, I have the same concern. The county residents and the Board of Supervisors, first of all, we've got to come together and define what affordable housing is. What's affordable housing for one person may not be affordable housing for the other person.
Thank you. And candidate's last question. Mr. Andrulli, given limited population growth over the next 25 years, how do you prioritize infrastructure needs?
Well, first of all, we need to, probably before we even make additions or add anything to Gloucester, we need to fix what we have here. And people want things for their children. We can make places here for enjoyment, but we can't keep overdeveloping this place, you know what I mean? And like I said about the housing, if they put new houses in, people that live nearby are going to make their houses, raise their prices of their houses. And the people that rent houses are going to be in trouble. I know there's HUD, but I don't think HUD is quite active here yet. But Gloucester doesn't want to grow, from what everybody tells me. They want to keep it small. There are plenty of counties in Virginia that don't want to develop. And the people that I talk to, that talk to me every day, they don't want to overdevelop Gloucester. And it doesn't need to be overdeveloped. You know, if you want a good job, they can go work in Newport News, and because they get better pay job. I did it for an hour. I drove an hour for 20 years, you know. But people don't want to develop. They don't want to change Gloucester, just like Nick says. They want, and Shannon, they want to keep it that hometown county, and that's what we need to do, if that answers the question.
It does. Mr. Bonneville?
Yeah, I think, you know, a couple of the things that they point out in the question is transportation. You know, we're in a unique position being so rural. It's hard to live on Marfield Road and get a ride to Walmart, right? We rely a lot on Bay Aging for our transportation needs, and I think the key word here is partnerships. As far as the bottlenecking issues, 17 is not getting any slower, unfortunately. Again, I deal with it every day. So I see the problems that we're having as far as commuting. My longest commute to Hampton is from mid-Gloucester to the Coleman Bridge, and it's during that rush hour period. So I think dealing with that, and I'd like to touch base on the data accessibility as well. You know, I know Gloucester has been working, and Kevin, you can tell me if I'm wrong, Gloucester's been working for a long time with the broadband. They've identified a lot of areas where it's underserved as far as the data capacity. But that project has taken a long time, and it's time to get it up, and it's time to get it running. You know, we can't do a lot with the last mile because of the cost, and you've got with Verizon and Cox kind of holding the reins on that, you're kind of limited in what you can do. I remember when we built our house, it was going to cost several $1,000s to get Cox to run back just down our little quarter-mile lane, and that becomes a problem when you don't have accessibility to that. 6G's on the way. They say it's going to fix a lot of the problems, but they got to make sure that airplanes aren't falling out of the sky before they can unleash it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hanson?
Yes. As we grow, our transportation is going to be a key issue facing our residents. It is my understanding that VDOT is already planning to make Route 17 3 lanes through most of Gloucester County. I've also seen the expansion of Bay Transit over the years, but I've also heard from citizens that some of these areas are not accessible by Bay Transit, and sometimes they're having to ride bikes or walk in dangerous areas. So I'd like to see, once I'm on the board, to see what kind of relief we can give these people. Regarding regarding data accessibility, it's my understanding that the previous board invested $5 million into that infrastructure throughout Gloucester, but once it was turned on, the actual people who wanted to participate in the usage actually was not as expected. I do think we can do better. After COVID, we did see a lot of children not being able to have access to certain things, and I'd like, but we also have alternatives like Starlink, T-Mobile, and whatnot, but maybe we can find a way to make that affordable or accessible to those children in need and families in rural areas.
Thank you. Mr. Lemming?
Again, I think the right answer is to develop and advance a new comprehensive plan for the county, not to sound like a guy who's done this before, but bottlenecks for cars. I've sat on the Board of Supervisors and heard the begathons for contributions from taxpayer monies. I don't usually think very highly of those. I do think that Bay Aging provides an opportunity for the county to partner with a nonprofit and advance the interest of our less mobile people. I think the internet is incredibly valuable to bring to people's homes. The number of cottage industries that have cropped up when they have access to internet probably far outweighs the expense, although it is difficult to get people to pay for it. Shovel-ready sites. I've heard before that a county like Gloucester can attract a business. It can attract a business. We have a relatively skilled workforce. We have certain assets in the county. We just need the right business. Nick is right. In order to preserve the rural character of our county, we need to have a comprehensive plan that says where can we put those businesses and where do we not put those businesses. And then we need to try to recruit selectively those businesses that meet our criteria to maintain our county and help offset the taxes that our homeowners are paying.
Mr. Smith?
Okay, can I have some of his time?
I'll yield.
First of all, transportation, bottleneck cars. Right now, VDOT is doing a study looking at safety issues. They're tracking auto accident, pedestrian accidents. They're looking at potential improvement, and they're asking for public input. We're pleased, when you get these surveys, answer the surveys. When you have an opportunity to go to a meeting to hear what they got coming up and what they want to hear from you, go to those meetings. They've had one at VIMS now, and they've also had one at Body Tot. So please go to those. Transportation for people without cars. Thank God for Bay Transit. Last month alone, Bay Transit did 3,400 rides. 17 of them were on the Bay Transit Express. It goes from ARC all the way up to the bridge where the motel is. 57% took people to work, 16 medical appointments, and 13 retail for business needs. Okay, real quick, data accessibility, last mile internet and broadband. Hang tight, Virginia. We got a lot of funds coming our way. It's called BEAD money, Broadband Equity, Access, and Development. Virginia got a huge share of this federal money. Governor Youngkin and the state are working on every home having accessible internet. In Gloucester, we have we can have the opportunity for 2,500 homes that are without internet. Okay, shovel-ready businesses, given our geographic limits. The school board has have gotten from the school board gave the board of supervisors 28 acres of shovel-ready development. Page Middle School. I'm getting good now. I'm a preacher, you can't do this to me.
Well, Mr. Andruli, Mr. Bonneville, Ms. Hanson, Mr. Lemming, and Mr. Smith, thank you for your time and dedication to this community. Audience, shall we give them a hand of applause? We will now begin our transition to our next and final segment. Candidates for Gloucester School Board, please come forward. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We are ready to begin. Candidates, welcome. I will give you the same reminders I gave out earlier. You will be called upon in alphabetical order, and this time you will have 2 minutes for an opening statement and 2 minutes to respond to questions. A sign or signal will be held up to indicate that you have 30 seconds left, but when the timekeeper says time, please finish your sentence and stop. Again, we ask that you speak directly into the mic so that those in the back can hear your answers as well. Before we begin, are there any questions? Mr. Brewer, we will start with you. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you are seeking election to the Gloucester School Board.
Well, good evening, folks, and quick thanks to the NAACP local chapter for sponsoring us tonight, and thank you all for hanging out for the final segment here. My name is Fred Brewer. I currently serve as the interim board member on the Gloucester County School Board. I grew up in Virginia Beach, graduated from Kempsville High School, earned a Bachelor of Science degree from Old Dominion University, and spent most of my professional career, 35-plus years, in retail management. But as I said, this is an interim position, and the school board made it clear that we think you're the guy for the job, but we're going to let the voters decide. So that's why we happen to be in the same room here tonight. When one runs for public office, amongst the first questions that you always get, what exactly do you plan to do if you're elected? What you going to do on day one? And my answer to that is, first, do no harm. Okay? Figure out what's working and support it. And there truly are a lot of things that are working well in Gloucester County Public Schools. Of course, there's things we need to fix, things we can improve on. But I think we always need to be mindful when we go into a situation like this that while all progress does require some change, not all change is progress. Good to great, continuous improvement, I think that needs to be our focus, and at some other time when we have an opportunity, I would like to talk to you about the primacy of parents, recognizing and respecting the primary and essential role of parents in the education of their children. Of course, we've got to support our teachers. Many of you know that I served for 12 years as a school board member in a neighboring school division. But I also want you to know that I'm a parent, and I was a parent long before I got involved in school board governance. And because of that public school experience, thank you.
Ms. McPherson, your opportunity.
Thank you. I appreciate you all being here tonight. My name is Nicole McPherson. I was born and raised in Gloucester. I currently live in the Gloucester Point district of the county, and I was born and raised here. I went to Gloucester High School, graduated in 1998, and I went to Longwood University, then Longwood College. I have a degree in business with a minor in communication studies. I'm married. I have 2 children, 2 girls that are both in the Gloucester County school system right now. And in my 9 to 5, I work in the insurance industry. I'm active in my local church. I work with all school-age children and their parents through multiple activities there. I'm a board member of the Page PTA, and recently I became a member of the Parent Safety Committee for GCPS. I had the privilege to serve as an interim role on the school board in 2023, and that just sparked my interest in getting more involved and being a part of this group. So I appreciate your time and look forward to meeting anyone afterwards that would like to talk to me. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Parker.
Thank you. I took a lot of things out that I had planned to say because I had to get it in 90 seconds, so I may add a little bit back in. Good evening, and thank you for hosting this forum. I am Anita Parker, and I've lived in Gloucester for 39 years, so yes, I am a come here, but I have been here for 39 years. I've been married to my husband, Jeff, for 47 years. We've raised 3 sons in Gloucester County and all graduated from Gloucester High School. I served on the Gloucester School Board for 16 years until 2021, representing the Petsworth District. I have represented Petsworth District as the interim for the last 11 months. I served as chair for 3 years and vice chair for 4 years. Prior to serving on the school board, I was a substitute teacher in Gloucester County Public Schools, PTA president at Body Tot, served on the PTAs for Petsworth, Peasley, and Gloucester High School, and I was also a classroom volunteer during the time that my children were involved in school. I was a Cub Scout leader and a Boy Scout leader for 12 years, a team mom, which is a very important job if you don't know, for T-ball, soccer, baseball, and football. That's because I had boys, all 3 boys, and they all played sports. I did this for the community and the school leagues as well. I believe that being a member of the Gloucester County School Board means that I am only one of 7, and that I am charged with collaboratively working with my fellow board members for the betterment of our students in Gloucester County Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you. And now for our questions. Mr. Brewer, we'll begin with you. Recently, Gloucester Public Schools was ranked first in Region 3 for the first time in overall academic performance. What do you believe has spurred this improvement? And if elected, how do you believe you can contribute or continue to ensure Gloucester stays at the top in overall academic performance?
Well, I think what got us there is what will keep us there. I think that by learning and focusing on the basics of teaching and learning, just like any good sports team, if you emphasize mastering the basics, the fundamentals, you're more likely to be successful. And I think that's what we've done in Gloucester County Public Schools. For us, it all starts in the classroom with well-trained, highly competent teachers. If they deliver well-planned lessons in an engaging way, which they typically do, and if they understand the techniques of good classroom management, we're going to stay successful. But how do we assure that we've got one of those well-trained, highly competent professional educators in every classroom? Well, competitive compensation is an obvious one, and certainly I think the board needs to continually focus on being sure that we are competitive with our teacher and staff salaries. But I also think that quality professional development opportunities are a key to our success, both past and continuing. The professional development has got to be rigorous. It's got to be relevant. I had a conversation recently with staff about national board certification for teachers, and perhaps we put some renewed emphasis on that. Collaboration, that's a big deal for teachers in Gloucester County Public Schools, and I think that too is a key to our success. Teachers mentoring their peers, and of course our recent emphasis on professional learning communities. I think that if we sustain that going forward, we will continue to be successful. School climate, that's a big one. It has a lot to do with building level leadership, the principal. It's critical to our ongoing success that we have the right person in the right place at the right time. And let's not forget the importance of attendance and our attendance recovery efforts in each school. We can't teach them if they don't show up. So I think if we put those pieces together, we will continue to be the successful school division that Gloucester has enjoyed for many years.
Thank you. Ms. McPherson?
Gloucester continues to demonstrate strong growth in reading, math, science, and writing, with continued progress over the last few years, especially in the math and writing, excuse me. These results, I believe, are reflective of a collaborative effort. Congratulations to our students who worked very hard to achieve that, and congratulations to our teachers who dedicate year in and year out to those goals. I believe that the positive culture is from the top down, so those can be credited for the results as well. We should continue on that path that we're currently on as we are achieving those goals, and I would not want to change anything that is very clearly working right now. We should continue to promote community, parent, and teacher engagement as we look forward. If I'm elected, I would do my best to ensure that for Gloucester County and that we continue to rank among the highest in our region. Community engagement for me means continuing to deepen those relationships with our community partners. Parent engagement should start with clear communication, and we should always be listening for the concerns as they arise from our parents. And lastly, teacher engagement. Our teachers are invaluable, we all know that, and they give excellent instruction and are the first line of defense for all intervention in our schools. We should work to attract and keep good teachers with competitive salaries and benefits. And lastly, I'd just like to say the press release last week announcing our performance really said it best, and I quote, "At the heart of this success is that when we listen, support, and value each other, every student can thrive. Gloucester County Public Schools will continue to build on this momentum, ensuring every student is prepared for success." Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Parker, same question.
Yes, ma'am. Gloucester County has a tradition of high-quality education. We are very proud of our latest ranking in Region 3. This is made possible by our hardworking teachers and staff that work tirelessly daily to ensure that our students succeed. Reading and math interventionists and tutoring have helped to provide extra help for the students that need that help. Our superintendent's focus on absenteeism is critical to address this chronic problem, and it's not just our problem. Students can't succeed if they are not in school. This is being addressed and is improving as well as trying to recover our homeschool students also back into our Gloucester County Public Schools. We lost a lot of children during COVID, and we're hoping to bring a lot of those students back. We will continue to focus on our strategic goals along with accountability for all of us, students, teachers, school board, and staff. Thank you.
Thank you. And for question number 2, Mr. Brewer, I think that we can all agree that all children in Gloucester County deserve a quality education. With Gloucester County Public Schools facing projected declines in student enrollment, how will you ensure that educational quality for all students remain top priority across all schools? And what steps will you take to protect programs that support vulnerable students and maintain transparency in how resources are allocated?
Well, it's certainly no secret that declining revenue or declining enrollments and declining revenue are intertwined. And there is some data out there that shows that our enrollment is likely to be flat or declining for the foreseeable future. But declining enrollment, declining revenues as a result of that does not have to mean that the quality of our programs necessarily suffer. Now, I would certainly admit that there is something to be said for economies of scale. Larger school divisions certainly can do some things that smaller divisions can't do, simply based on numbers. But if you look at the recent data, it readily shows that some of the smallest school divisions in the Commonwealth are some of the highest flyers. Gloucester County Public Schools is consistently amongst them in spite of an enrollment of less than 5,000 students. So enrollment declines, revenue declines. We simply renew our efforts to identify and implement cost efficiencies in every facet of the organization, whether it be administrative, transportation, building operations, classrooms, balancing class sizes, and things of that nature. And I think the school division has done and will continue to do a good job of identifying efficiencies and running a relatively lean operation. Perhaps we take a harder look at grant opportunities. Maybe going forward, we revisit this idea of a full-time grant writer for the school division. Certainly, we need to continue our hard work at attendance recovery. And as far as our most vulnerable students, and I'm assuming we mean the special education group, we're bound by federal law and federal funding and use a formula-based approach to providing those services, both in-house and through our various regional programs, New Horizons, our Middle Peninsula partners, and so forth. So I certainly don't see those services changing. And we mentioned transparency.
Ms. McPherson?
I believe the pandemic played a major role in the recent decline of student enrollment across the U.S., and I don't think that is immune to Gloucester County. We've seen that ourselves, and families are realizing that there are alternatives to traditional public education, and they're honestly more attainable than ever. We need to support the social, emotional, physical, and mental needs of every student. When we take this approach, it becomes less about at-risk students and more about every student in our district. We commit to never leave a single child behind. We need to know what our students need, and we need to understand the needs that they have and be proactive to intervene when necessary. We ensure quality education for every student by building relationships with them, modeling empathy, and being there for all of our students for the long haul. To protect these programs, I believe we must be aware of them, we must advocate for them, and we must take action to retain them. As a school board member, it can be difficult to the task of balancing the need in our district and the resources that we have. But lastly, I'd say remaining transparent should mean providing clear and straightforward information on our spending. And this data should be easy to locate, and it should be easy for everyone to understand. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Parker?
The Cooper Center projects enrollment to remain flat for the Gloucester County Public Schools through 2030. That's a long time that we're looking at. But we could hopefully see a little growth with the tolls on the Colburn Bridge being removed. Enrollment affects our funding at $9,300 per student, which vastly affects our budget. We will continue to prioritize our workforce development, including trades that we offer in Gloucester High School, like construction, automotive, culinary, cosmetology, nursing, agriculture, and others, to prepare our students for the jobs in our own community as well as elsewhere. We will continue to invest in transition programs for students with disabilities by partnering with local employers. Protecting and providing for our most vulnerable students across our schools is our priority. Advocating for additional funding is vital for us to continue our vision and the people in our community's vision as well. Offering our teachers mentoring programs so they can garner support is so important for future successes. Supporting the leadership opportunities of our NJROTC program, which has grown tremendously through the years. For the students, these students are our future. We will continue to prioritize our budget to meet the needs of our students, also offer our community input on our budget, on our strategic plan, as well as access to the school board for concerns and questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 3, Mr. Brewer, we'll begin with you again. What specific steps will you take, if any, to address achievement gaps in our schools? And how will you ensure fair access to advanced coursework and college preparatory programs?
Certainly this issue of achievement gaps is something that public education has struggled with for many, many years. It's a recurring theme. It's an ongoing challenge for every school division in the country. But I think overall, Gloucester County Public Schools does a relatively good job with narrowing that achievement gap. And of course, when we talk about achievement gap, we're talking about differences in scholastic performance between races and socioeconomic groups and so forth. So at Gloucester County Public Schools, we disaggregate a lot of data. We work with the data and let that help drive our decision-making processes, and I'm sure we'll continue to do that going forward. Test scores, all of the numbers relative to how we grade our public school system, those numbers are shared at every level. Every principal, every classroom teacher reviews those testing results. They break it down right to the individual student level, and they adjust their school improvement plans accordingly. And those school improvement plans are something that our school division takes and must continue to take very, very seriously. That's how we make those changes right down to the student level. So I think if we continue to do that, we should expect to see continuous improvement in that achievement gap concern. Of course, I would add to the second part of the question that every student certainly deserves a fair shot to work at the highest level they're capable of. So I would certainly work to continue not only the emphasis on advanced placement courses and AP testing, but also continue our focus on the dual enrollment partnership that we've established with Rappahannock Community College. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McPherson?
The steps that I would consider to address achievement gaps are the following. We need to identify struggling students. We need to have an action plan for targeted intervention. We need to train our teachers to quickly identify these gaps and have a clear expectation of the action plan that they need to have and when the problem is identified. And lastly, there should be a family partnership. This is a group effort between all parties involved. There was an achievement gap in my household in 2023. My daughter was failing miserably at math. In her words, who needs math? And I said, you do. So we worked with the All-In Tutoring program that was just fresh out the gate at that time. It was a beautiful program. She had a wonderful experience and her scores dramatically improved because of that program. So I think programs like that are vital to each student and to achieve their goals. And lastly, fair access requires personalized learning, and that focuses on each individual student and their strengths and weaknesses. And there can be barriers in education, but we should always be working to address those barriers and try to remove them. Thank you.
Okay, my thoughts are that we need to improve academic counseling for our students. We should begin working with students in 5th grade to introduce them to the pathways that are offered in middle and high school, increasing their self-awareness to know where their interests lie so they have a more focused direction as they move forward in school. In order to make this happen, we need to monitor enrollment in advanced classes in middle school so that we know how to plan for the needs of our students. We need to continue to offer dual enrollment classes that are free to all students and continue to partner with Rappahannock Community College. We need to support our students' involvement in sports, clubs, and other after-school activities. These organizations and activities teach teamwork, cooperation with others, and other durable skills. We need to continue to support band, drama, and choral classes. Personally, I have seen for myself that these offerings provide kids with a sense of belonging to something that's important. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the last question for this evening, Mr. Brewer, how will you ensure Gloucester County's rich and diverse history is reflected in the education today's students receive?
I would start by saying that Gloucester County history is Virginia history, and our history is United States history. There's been a Gloucester County since the beginnings of this country, before we even were a country. Our history goes back well before the Revolutionary War and certainly includes that time in our history. Gloucester history is the war between the states. It's the Great Depression. It was 2 world wars, the Civil Rights Movement, Vietnam. Gloucester has been a part of all of that. And we know about T.C. Walker. This building was named for that man. We know about Irene Morgan, but there's countless others whose stories need to be told and haven't yet been. So I found it interesting that in a recent conversation with our superintendent of schools, we were talking about our civics and social studies curriculum and what we teach in history and what we should teach and so forth. He shared his thoughts with me about creating a Gloucester curriculum that in-house we would make an effort to write a history curriculum that would encompass the history of Gloucester County. And of course, we would have to figure out, how best to implement that. Certainly at the logical grade levels, 4th grade, 7th grade, 11th grade. That's something that is not in the works at this point, but I thought the idea was particularly interesting. And if I continue to serve on the board, I would certainly like to see us move toward that, establishing a curriculum unique and specific to Gloucester County schools that would explore the unique history of Gloucester County. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McPherson?
I have three great candidates up here, so you might hear a couple things more than once. When I was considering this question, I thought immediately of two people from Gloucester's history that come to my mind. The first one is Thomas Calhoun Walker, who fought for his own education and went on to use his education to help many other people through his work as a teacher, a lawyer, and a public official. Second is Walter Reed. The birthplace of Walter Reed is just about a mile from my childhood home. I've driven by there many, many times. As you guys probably know, Walter Reed was part of a research team for the yellow fever, and his work is considered to be a vital moment in medical history. So we have a rich, rich history here in Gloucester. I'm thankful for that, and I think if we look at these two men and they use their education to better the world around them, and I think that's an amazing lesson that I hope we can share with our students in Gloucester County. And as someone who was born and raised in Gloucester as a child, I don't think I fully realized what type of history that we have here in our community. So I hope that we can ensure that our students know what legacy these two and many others have left behind, and that we can be intentional about teaching about local history. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Parker?
Thank you. We are very blessed here in Gloucester because history surrounds us, not only in Gloucester, but also Yorktown, Jamestown, Williamsburg. We partner with the Woodville Foundation to teach local history, and we provide field trip opportunities to our local historical sites for all of our students. Gloucester High School offers an African American Studies class for those that are interested. We can continue to work towards, obviously I talked to the superintendent when you did, we can continue to work towards developing a curriculum about Gloucester County history. Teachers and staff alongside the Gloucester Historical Society, the Gloucester Museum, the Woodville Foundation, Moton Conference Center, to expose our kids to how important Gloucester is to the birth of our nation. Our newest state park, and I'm going to do this very badly, I'm sure, Naacpgloucester, I'm sure I'll get calls on that, offers Native American historical information and events in their interpretive pavilion. Lastly, we also teach about accomplishments of our namesake for this education center, T.C. Walker, a Native lawyer and teacher here in Gloucester County. We should be proud. Thank you.
Thank you. So Mr. Brewer, Ms. McPherson, and Ms. Parker, thank you again for your time and dedication to this community. Audience, let's give them a round of applause. This concludes our forum, and at this time, I'd like to turn the remainder of our program over to our president, Pamela Griffin Armstead.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. I'm going to give you a round of applause for coming out. We hope you have gained some insight regarding the candidates and where they stand. If you want to be a part of the live action during the election, volunteer to be an officer of the election by contacting the Gloucester County Registrar's Office. We want to thank those who helped make this possible. Each candidate who participated, Gloucester County Public Schools and Dr. Anthony Vladu, Gloucester County School Board, Gloucester IT Department, Sheriff Warren and the Gloucester County Sheriff's Department, Gloucester County Board of Supervisors, all of you who have sent in questions, Velma Benz for moderating, Terry Brown for taking photos, Bobby Morgan, County Registrar. All the NAACP folks who volunteered, and especially the Political Action Committee, Dr. Ella Webster, the chair, and Natalie Johnson, also our timekeeper for tonight, and Kathleen Keller, who was out front. If I've forgotten anyone, please forgive me. Thank you. Early voting begins September 19th, 1 week from tomorrow. Again, thank you for being here. Please have a safe trip home, and please, please, please be sure to vote. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.